Do you have any preference on what's the word I'm looking for? The support, not the support, but the between a console or a PC or portable?
Are we talking about the debate upon which is better, or are we just saying is what is my feelings on it?
Yeah, maybe just your what you might have to say about each what's the word I'm looking for? Not console, but hardware.
Hardware.
Because you've played on a PC and you've played
Yes, I've played
on consoles.
many consoles. I've played handhelds and I've played PC. I'd say that I'm a gamer for all of them. PC, yeah, it's a better option than consoles, but that doesn't mean it's a better way to game.
Is there a new
I
one? Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the words here. I can see the benefit in all of them. If Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Um, I don't say that any which is better, like in a sense of being able to actually play video games. Sure, some might be able to handle video games better, but depending on whether you're a casual gamer or if you're a or hardcore gamer, you have many different routes to take, and it's just a matter of preference, really.
And would you go as far as saying that some games are you would prefer to play some games on PC and some other games on console? Do you pick the hardware depending on the game, or
Um,
does it matter anyway?
no, the difference between hardware doesn't quite matter, mostly because any games that a console can handle, a PC can definitely handle, especially if it's pretty high end. But the thing is, I'd choose. It's a matter of I'd choose a controller over a keyboard and mouse. So some games might be better on console just for the sake that it's easier to use a controller because you're kind of forced to.
Yeah, because on PC nowadays you can plug in a controller, you can plug in
True.
a steering wheel with the pedals, and I saw that on the other day on the shopping
Hmm.
website that they sell the steering wheel, the pedals, and the stick to for the driving video games. It's
Right.
kind of getting complete there.
Hmm. Yeah, consoles are starting to become, I wouldn't say something that's not needed, but it's starting to become something that you can just do on a PC. Like, you can honestly sell a console and probably get a PC that can run games better just by building the PC. But a console is much easier to get. Um, and the thing about getting controllers to work on your computers, there's some games that you can't get a controller to work on without having to map everything yourself onto a controller already. It doesn't come with a controller compatibility, so that's also a factor.
And when you play video games, does the music matter or the sounds? Yeah.
Uh, yeah, music definitely does matter because sound, especially now that technology has come as far as it can, sound is a huge integration in all forms of art that uses technology, such as movies and video games especially. It really helps set the mood of the game and get you like involved in it, especially if it's story driven. So I'd say that music and sound is definitely a very big part of the game that you can't ignore. It's something that you have to have relatively high quality in order to make sure your game's mm, pretty good, if you will.
Do you keep the music in every game that you play?
Yes. Usually. There's some cases where I don't, but that's just because the music can get very loud for no reason, and really the only game I'm talking about here is Minecraft. But most other games, yes, I keep the music on, especially if I like the music.
And how about on the visual side? The color palette. Do you ever did you ever stop and think, oh, the colors in this game are really nice, or this game does the colors don't match, or and the artwork, does the costume match with the environment, or does that matter?
Yeah, visually, you have to have your visuals set up good. They have to look good. They don't have to be generally realistic and high res, but they have to look good, which also includes the color palette. Um, there haven't been much games where I'd look at it and be like, the color palette was horrible, but I'd have to say that there are some games I've looked at and been like, felt like things just weren't right in the way that the color scheme set up, especially if it's a certain theme, like say, or a genre. Say if it's a scary genre, a horror film. Generally, not always. There's exceptions, but generally, you want your color palette to be a bit darker. And there's some games that just have really bright color palettes and it just didn't fit the mood. So stuff like that, yeah, it is very important.
How much does it matter to you if you
Um, it doesn't generally make or break a game for me, but if there are glaring issues with it, I will stop playing or playing it as much because it can hurt the eyes if it's not done well or done very bad.
and I've seen a gamer complain about the tearing in the gameplay in the video output. And does that do you notice that? Do you try to fix it when you see tearing in the video output?
Um, I'm having trouble thinking up what tearing is. It's not a term that I hear a lot, so I kind of forget what it means.
It's when the well, it looks like tearing because it's like let's say there's the horizon will part of the horizon will be in the middle of the
Okay,
screen, would be higher than the other
I
part of
see
it.
that. Yeah, that's definitely an issue. Because depending
But
on the
most,
game, it can.
it seems to me that most people don't even notice, or they think it's part of the game, or it's very
Well,
few.
yes, if it's very negligible, like it only happens for like a fraction or second, or it happens whenever it's kind of hard to notice, I wouldn't mind too much. But if it happens during like a lot or like during very critical moments in gameplay, I can see it getting really annoying fast. And it would be something I'd try to fix, but I haven't run into it all too much in my video game experience. I guess I've just been lucky with that.
Wow, I ran out of questions. I thought it would be longer than that. Um, Let me try to improvise a little bit.
Oh,
Let's go back to what is it you like about video games? Maybe that I didn't ask.
let's see. Let's get some basic
Puzzles?
points
Do you
down.
like puzzles? Do you like? Does a video game need to have everything in it?
No, a
Or
video game does not need to have everything in it. That's a mistake some game developers make, is that you don't need to have every type of gameplay element or every type of plot point or whatever. You don't have to have everything in a video game, because if you do put everything that you can think of to put in a video game, it quickly gets clustered or cluttered, and it sometimes will overwhelm people. Sure, if your game's meant to be like super realistic with like the way that gameplay elements work, put everything in it. But if it's meant to be simple, like a simple game, like the gameplay in general is meant to be simple, and then you add like hundreds of things to do on top of like your main list of stuff, it might get a bit heavy. Not saying it's necessarily a bad thing all the time, but you don't want to include more than you need in your game, or else it starts to thin out.
Starts to what?
I'm trying to think of a correct word. I said
No,
thin out. But...
Okay, because you cut off for half a second.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, how many elements does a video game need for you to enjoy?
It depends on the game, honestly. It depends on how the game is presented and how the gameplay is supposed to be. So, say it's supposed to be a realistic survival, it should have tons of elements that like make it harder to survive, and that like basically make up survival. But if it's something very simple, you don't need to have a lot of stuff for me to be engaged in it. So if it's something like, oh, you need a, I don't know, like Star Fox, where you just need to shoot down ships and fly around, you don't have to have like crazy stuff like repair kits and like wings being blown off. You just have to, oh, you're getting damaged, now you can shoot these people, that's still fun. Kind of.
Okay. Because personally, I'd rather play 3 or 4 different video games to get everything I want, to get everything.
Right. And it's also a matter of, I don't want them to overdo games, because what a lot of big AAA games do, that I've noticed recently, within the past few years or so, is that they try to tackle too many things at once, and they ended up not making a good game, instead of focusing on just one or two things. Like, where's a good example? I can't think of any good examples right now. My mind's gone blank.
What's AAA? You said AAA games.
AAA is big games like Call of Duty and Halo that have like hundreds of people working on it to make the game, and they all sell for like $60 upon release and stuff like that. That's usually what AAA is.
So, well, where does that AAA name come from, or is there a body or a committee that says? Is there someone in the industry that says that's AAA? That's
Well, okay. Here's another way of saying it. The game industry says a game is AAA whenever it is extremely high budget. Like a company has spent like millions to make the game, or
Okay.
hundreds of thousands, instead of like maybe a couple $1,000s. And they usually have like hundreds of people working on it in order to get the game done, and that's usually what you'd call a AAA. That's just what they call it. There's no like, I don't think it's like an acronym for anything or anything like that.
Okay.
Basically, whenever you say AAA, you think of high quality and some sort of like really huge game. Though that doesn't mean